I'm Tavis, Smiley. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. In this hour, a conversation with the father of virtual reality, Jaron Lanier. It has been an intriguing past few months in the tech world, particularly regarding Twitter. Starting on November the 4th, under the new ownership of billionaire Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Twitter slashed its workforce by nearly 50%. As Musk continues to push forward plans to reshape one of the world's most high-profile information ecosystems, he has also admitted that Twitter might not survive if it can't find a way to bring in at least half of its revenue from subscriptions, and that Twitter bankruptcy is possible. That's Elon Musk. That Twitter bankruptcy is possible. Considering all this recent Twitter drama, perhaps time for us to look for some alternatives, especially if we want to avoid being Twitter poisoned, as computer scientist Jaron Lanier calls it. The father of virtual reality joins us in this hour for a conversation about Elon Musk's management of Twitter, and also to share how Trump, Musk, and Kanye are Twitter poisoned, and how Twitter poisoning, or perhaps social media poisoning overall, is destructively impacting public behavior. We'll get to Jaron Lanier in a few moments here in this final hour of our program today. A few breaking news stories, though, that I need to take a few moments to share with you. First, in case you just tuned in, I mentioned this a little while ago, the city of Long Beach. The LBC has elected its first African-American mayor, Susie Price, white woman, city council member there in Long Beach, conceded to the brother, Rex Richardson. And so Rex Richardson will be the first African-American mayor of the city of Long Beach. All the votes have not as yet been counted, but Susie Price said that the trend is not moving in our direction. And so if you live in Southern California, you're in California, everybody knows Long Beach. And if you are not from California, you know the LBC from Snoop Dogg. So Rex Richardson, now the mayor of the LBC, the first black person, period, to be mayor of the city of Long Beach. So congratulations to Rex Richardson. I'm sure you'll be hearing him on this station soon, if not on this program, certainly on Dominique's program, First Things First. So we look forward to a conversation with Rex Richardson once he can get us on his schedule. So black folk making history, excuse me, in the city of Long Beach. In Los Angeles, you heard yesterday, Dean Logan, the man here in LA County, on our program, talking about the fact that the race is trending in Karen Bass's favor. And you get 4 or 5 of these reports in a row where the numbers keep moving in her direction. Her numbers keep moving up to the 52nd percentile, and his are dropping down to the 47th percentile. It's pretty clear if this trend continues, and apparently it is moving in that direction, that Karen Bass, in just a matter of time, will be, we assume, declared mayor of the City of Angels, making her the first woman, and only the second African-American to be mayor of this city, the first, of course, being Tom Bradley, who I had the honor of working for. So I suspect in the days ahead, Rick Caruso will do as Susie Price has done in Long Beach and have to come out and say that it's just not trending in his direction, although he may wait to the very end. He may wait till every single vote is counted. You heard Dean Logan say yesterday, when he was on, that they were about 70 to 72% done counting all the votes. He figured by Friday they might be at 85% or better. So it could very well be by the end of this week that we will know who the mayor of the city of Los Angeles is going to be, following the two-term administration of Eric Garcetti. One last piece of breaking news, and we'll make way for our conversation with Jaron Lanier. This is very important. We've discussed this Ukraine situation many, many times on this program. At least 2 are dead after a Russian missile, if I can say it. At least 2 are dead after a Russian missile lands in Poland on the Ukraine border. I say that once again. 2 people are dead inside Poland. Poland is a NATO state. Do you see where this is headed? So a NATO state now has been hit by a Russian missile. Poland, of course, on the Ukrainian border. But a Russian missile has landed inside of a NATO state, and it's going to be on and popping here pretty soon. I cannot imagine that the United States and its allies are going to sit by and allow this to be not responded to. I don't know what that means, but this is what we were afraid of all along, that at some point this excursion, if you will, by Russia would move beyond the borders of Ukraine. It has happened. Again, 2 are dead after a Russian missile lands in the NATO state of Poland. And now the U.S. and its allies, who've continued to say that they will not put boots on the ground, the U.S. and its allies who have been supporting Ukraine with money and with weapons, now have to make a decision about what they do, given that one of the NATO states has been impacted by a Russian missile, killing a couple of people in the nation state of Poland. So, not good news at all. I am sure that on a day when there's already big news being made by the announcement of Donald Trump later this evening, that this story will be trending in just a matter of moments as well, and particularly once we hear what Joe Biden and other allies in Europe have to say about what they intend to do in terms of a response to this Russian missile that has landed inside Poland. So, a lot to keep our eyes on, as we will around here on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we commence our conversation with Jaron Lanier on KBLA Talk 1580.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Look.
Our weekly Los Angeles is the largest over 50,000 copies weekly. Pick up a copy every Thursday to get the latest news on African American communities of LA. You can also keep up with what's going on in Los Angeles and surrounding cities by going to www.ourweekly.com. The Our Weekly website is updated daily with the current news about us and for us. For your advertising needs, Our Weekly offers economical advertising packages to fit your budget. Feel free to call Our Weekly Los Angeles at 323-905-1300 or visit the website at www.ourweekly.com. Our Weekly Los Angeles, reporting news that matters to you.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Steve is intrigued by the paranormal.
Otherworldly spirits really make a house a home, you know?
Janice has different taste.
I'd like my house to not be haunted.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Steve and Janice found a renovated Victorian that's only haunted from 9 to 5.
Okay, wife's home. I gotta bounce.
Bye, Steve.
Bundling without compromise at Geico.com.
It's pro time, because at Lowe's, it's Provember. Save big with inventory you can count on, like Flex products. It's $99. Plus, Lowe's MVPs members earn up to 3 times bonus points per dollar on select items. Save all Provember long. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. MVPs Pro Rewards Program. Terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change. Prices valid from 10/17/22 to 2/3/23 or until supplies last.
KBLA Talk 1580 would like to thank all the businesses that tune in to KBLA at work. We celebrate you, your calls to the station, and your overall support. To show our appreciation, we would like to treat your office to a lunch for 10, brought to you by K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app or log on to KBLA1580.com to be selected for our Office of the Week. We know you are just like our staff, putting in many smart, hard-working hours per week. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. You and your staff deserve lunch on us. Enter your office to win lunch for 10 and be highlighted on KBLA Talk 1580 as our Office of the Week. Open the KBLA app or log on to KBLA 1580 to enter your office today to become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. Sponsored by K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering.com. Become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call. We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
All righty, now we got that breaking news out of the way. So pleased to welcome my friend and brother Jaron Lanier back to this program. Jaron, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's really good to talk to you again. It's been a little while.
It has been a while. It's great to hear your voice as always, and I am always bracing myself for the download of your vast intellect. So I look forward to this conversation, as I always do, because I learn so much every time I talk to Jaron Lanier. He is, of course, the father of virtual reality, and no better person to talk about these issues with Jaron Lanier. So again, delighted to have him back on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm going to spend some time, most of our time in this hour, the 45 minutes we have left, talking about your brilliant guest essay that I read in the New York Times. The headline was Trump, Musk, and Kanye are Twitter poisoned. Trump, Musk, and Kanye are Twitter poison. We got some time to unpack that in this hour. But let me start with the broad question, and we'll narrow our way through the hour, Jaron. So it's been not quite, but almost 2 weeks since Elon Musk took over. Broadly speaking, what do you make of his reign so far?
Well, oh gosh, to me it's kind of a sad thing because if we roll it back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I was pretty supportive of Elon Musk for a very simple reason, which is that it felt like a lot of the American tech sector had kind of shifted to just gimmicks, like how can we get money out of people by, getting them to buy one thing instead of another thing or whatever. And it didn't feel like it was really productive or helping humanity, and it didn't have any, substance to it. Then he comes along and says, hey, I'm going to make cars, I'm going to make rockets, we're going to get back to actually making things, and there are things that will help humanity survive. There's a big story picture as well as a little story picture, and we'll hire people because we'll build factories. Like all how tech is supposed to be. But what I've noticed is that a number of figures have gotten just kind of crankier and more self-centered and less rational over the same last period of time, like the last, 4 or 5 years or something. And I think it has to do with side effects of social media addiction. And I've mentioned a few people who I think are, victims or sufferers of that. But at any rate, I think that hit Musk pretty hard. And unfortunately, what we're seeing today is this person who's like really chaotic and impulsive and doesn't see beyond the end of his nose, and it's just all about him. And instead of building, he's tearing down. And it's a loss, I think it's a real loss.
I want to talk about that social media addiction. You put your finger on that quite nicely in this essay for the New York Times, so we'll come to that in a second. But since you teed this up, let me follow you. So I mentioned a moment ago that Elon Musk, as you know, has slashed the Twitter workforce by about 50% so far. Amazon has announced it's laying off thousands of employees. I guess the question here, Jaron Lanier, is whether or not we are at the end of the boom times in tech.
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by tech. I mean, in principle, we can't be at the end times for tech because tech is humanity. I mean, the whole human experiment is like coming up with ever more technology to keep going because we're fully natural species anymore. We're on this train and we have to stay on the train. But that's a little different from the Silicon Valley model of tech. I still think it has some life in it. I think it's been allowed to turn into sort of nonsense. There's been too many scams and weird things. Hey, can I tell you one thing that kind of breaks my heart from recent years?
Sure.
There's a way that tech shifted from serving all of humanity to kind of preying on the most vulnerable parts of the society, in my view anyway. Speaking for myself, and I know I'm in a minority on this, but back when Twitter was growing, if you looked at who was on Twitter and the most represented, it wasn't the richest part of societies. It was those who were at the short end of the stick. Twitter was filled with people from the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum. Black Twitter was a huge thing. And at the time, if you're a skeptic about Twitter, it puts you in a tough spot because you don't want to tell everybody, oh, you're doing it wrong, because you don't have the right to do that. But on the other hand, it just seems like such a setup. And so that was bad enough. But then recently the whole thing happened again in a way that was much more immediately, which is, the NFT craze and crypto and all that stuff, which, I gotta tell you, people in the know, and I think most would think of me as somebody in the know. I'm I'm in the middle of the community, and I really know this stuff. And it all seemed like a scam. It all seemed like nonsense. And yet, you don't want to tell people who really care about something, oh, you're doing it wrong, because, is it really your business? But on the other hand, look at what happened. Look at who lost their money and who got away with a bunch of money. And it's pretty clear that there's this way that it was very unfair and targeted the people who could least afford to be screwed by it. So anyway, my point is that I think the technology culture, if we can talk about that, the culture of those of us who do tech kind of allowed itself to get kind of corrupted. Do you remember a rather famous rap from the 90s, and one of the lines is, "Don't get high on your own supply"?
I remember well.
Yeah. Yeah, so do I. Yeah, 10 crack commandments. And what we did is we got high on our own supply. We created this thing that was addictive and made people kind of crazy. And then we got addicted to it and got kind of crazy. And then the result of that was technology itself getting kind of crazy, and humanity cannot afford that. That's just a really bad thing.
Yep. That was also a great line, as you recall, in Scarface, the movie. It showed up there, "Don't get high on your own supply." So it's a great line. I remember it well. You said a couple things I want to follow up on. Again, I'm working my way into this article. Since you mentioned Black Twitter, what happens to Black Twitter in the era of Elon Musk?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been thinking about that. I feel really badly for people who came to depend on it. And it's not just the Black community. The disabilities community depends on it like crazy. There's a whole bunch of people who have very good and authentic uses of the thing. I mean, I've never denied that. I've always, that's plain to see. So what do they do now? Where do they go? What happens? It's really hard to coordinate moving a bunch of people off one platform to another. It's painful. One thing I can say is don't go to TikTok. That's going to turn out to be worse because the people behind it are worse. Just really, don't do that. Thing called Mastodon, which is this more, it's a fancier, supposedly decentralized architecture, whatever.
Yeah, they gained. Let me cut in right quick. Mastodon that you mentioned, Jaron, they gained 70,000 users pretty immediately after Musk took over Twitter. So that is an option for a lot of people at the moment, at least. They gained pretty quickly in terms of followers, users.
Yeah, but that's tens of thousands is different from tens of millions or hundreds of millions, and that's what has to happen. That's it's a tough call, and honestly. There's no option that I feel totally comfortable with right now. I think a lot of the decentralization ideas in Mastodon, meaning that there's no single boss, can actually be turned pretty easily by malicious people against the users. I think that's actually not the ultimate solution. I think we should have learned that by now. On the other hand, I don't like any of them. None of the social media networks that are out there are any good. But one thing, look, it's not my business. Okay, I'm not Black. I'm not part of the community. But what I see, just as an outsider, is sometimes some of the more prominent people in the Black community have ended up helping to hype things that were. And I'm thinking of the NFTs and whatnot, and I'm thinking, I don't want to accuse anybody, but just think before you do something like that, please. It's just just stop and think. It's not my business to decide what's good or bad. It's not it's but just all I ask is just take a moment and think. I just think that's a reasonable thing for somebody to say.
So you got me thinking right now, given what you just said. So let me ask you more expressly, since you again referenced it. What do you make? What is your critique of this crypto crisis? The fall of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. The company was once valued at $32 billion. Now it's headed to bankruptcy. I hear your point, and if I understand what you're saying, and I'm pretty good at listening to you, then you see this as a sort of you sort of see this as a cautionary tale, do you not?
Yeah, get-rich-quick schemes are screw 99.99% of the people who put money into them. Mm-hmm. And then there's this little tiny bit who do really well. Your chances are not good, all right? You could just go to Las Vegas and blow some money and have probably more fun doing it than putting money into these things. And part of how it happens is just people. A lot of it is based on really good impulses and feelings. I mean, people want to believe in the future, and tech represents the future. Mm-hmm. They want to believe that their descendants will have it better, and who wouldn't want to vote for the future? I mean, you'd have to be a creep not to. But and the other thing is that the people who offer these things have often talked themselves into believing in them. So the sincerity of people like Bankman-Fried or Musk or any of these people, I think they're sincere. I think they've just fooled themselves. I think they've gotten high on their own supply. And I'm not talking, in this case, I'm not black, but I am techie elite. I'm part of this world. These are people, these are my people. When I talk about this, it's a little hard because in many cases I'm talking about people I know, and in many cases I'm talking about people I'll see at things. But somehow I've gotten by trying to tell the truth for all these years, and I seem to still be here, so I'm just going to keep on doing it.
I love that you are a truth teller. That's why I always want to talk to you. Let me ask you, I got news, traffic, and sports in about 2 minutes here. We'll continue on the other side. Let me ask you, though, I asked earlier whether or not you think these are the end of the boom times for tech. Given what we're talking about now with Musk and Twitter, which we'll talk more about in a moment, given that the crypto crisis that you just opined on, is there a .com bust in the offing, you think?
Oh, gosh. It's funny. I have to give you sort of a hedged answer. I think tech is split into the bullcrap sector and the sort of actually doing something sector. Mm-hmm. And I think the actually doing something sector, when you see the companies doing cuts, a lot of times there's something the companies do that's actually something. Yeah. we might not like everything Amazon does, and right. I have some problems with the way Amazon does things, but they are actually doing something. And so I think, or in fact I hope, that we're going to see a collapse of the aspect of the tech industry that was just nothing to begin with, nothing but a scam. And but it might not die this time. It might take a few more. People want hope. They want to believe. People want to believe. People have this thing inside themselves, and a scam artist can address it. And it's using the best part of somebody against that person, and it's an awful thing to do, but we do it.
45 seconds. And we'll continue, but let me ask you right quick. How do you see what could be a .com bust now as compared to the one 20 years ago?
Well, the interesting thing is a lot of money is just going to vanish, and it's not even going into the pockets of a criminal because it was just stored as sort of a crypto fake thing. Mm-hmm. So the people who ended up with the money that you invested in crypto are long gone, and the current people who are going to lose out aren't even the people who originally stole it. There's a kind of a weird, a lot of it's just going to evaporate, which kind of that makes it a bit more like the mortgage lending thing, which was another big computer-based scheme too. Yeah.
You heard General Lanier say a moment ago that if you think Twitter's bad, TikTok is worse. You heard him say it, that the people behind TikTok are worse. Everybody seems to be loving and embracing TikTok, but when you have the father of virtual reality, he is, as he said earlier, he is one of the tech elite. I'm always honored just to be in dialogue, to be elbow to elbow with Jaron Lanier, and so he's got to unpack that for me. I'm going to interrogate why TikTok is so much worse even than Twitter. The people behind TikTok. There's something that Jaron knows that we don't know, but you're going to find out when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where truth prevails. The tricky station is down a dial.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. One of the men accused in the murder of Memphis rapper Young Dolph will have his first day in court on Thursday. 43-year-old Hernandez Govan is the latest person to be charged. Authorities say Govan helped organize the shooting. Thursday marks 1 year since Young Dolph's death. A new report by the Brookings Institute finds that former President Donald Trump is at substantial risk of criminal prosecution in Georgia in connection with efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election in the state. Trump is expected to announce tonight that he's running for president in 2024, although many Republicans are calling for him to hold off until after Georgia's runoff election next month. There's no word yet on when next star Kyrie Irving will be reinstated to the team. Coach Jacques Vaughn says he has no update. It's the team set for his reinstatement. And that's the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
In downtown LA, clearing a stalled vehicle 110 southbound past the 101. Traffic starts to slow down at Academy Road. In Linwood, 105 eastbound before the 710, a stalled vehicle clearing. Slowing there starts back at Wilmington Avenue. And a big rig accident working in Rowland Heights, 60 eastbound before Fullerton Road. A big rig leaking oil there. Your two right lanes are blocked and traffic's jammed up from 7th Avenue.
Dell Technologies Black Friday event starts now with up to 50% off select business PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on accessories and free shipping. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Is this the cover? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers pulled away for a 16-point win last night in Houston. 6 players scored in double figures for the Clippers, led by Paul George's 22 points. The Clippers are in Dallas tonight. The Lakers are off until Friday when they host Detroit. Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp will miss several weeks with a high sprain of his right ankle. Kupp ranks second in the NFL this season with 75 catches. Number 1 is Miami's Tyreek Hill with 81. There are no more undefeated. Commanders took advantage of 3 Philadelphia turnovers last night to complete a shocking 11-point win over the Eagles. UCLA's men's basketball team rolled to a 30-point win last night over Norfolk State, 19 points and 9 rebounds for guard Jalen Clark. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
Health is Wealth and Medicare and Covered California's open enrollment for medical insurance is here. RHJ Insurance Agency can help you find affordable rates and the plan that's just right for you and your family. Call 562-204-6120 for your free quote. Don't leave your health to chance. Open enrollment is here and affordable coverage is just a phone call away. Call 562-204-6120 for your free quote and get the coverage you need. Go to www.rhjins.com.
They can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall. If you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
Less BS per broadcast. fewer microaggressions per megawatt. KBLA Talk 1580.
Our guest is Jaron Lanier on KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number 1-800-920-1580. So glad to have you in this conversation with us on KBLA Talk 1580. Before I move and spend the rest of my time talking about this brilliant essay that Jaron Lanier recently authored for the New York Times, the headline, Trump, Musk, and Kanye are Twitter poisoned. We'll talk about Twitter poisoning in just a moment here. But you mentioned TikTok, and you suggested that the people behind TikTok are far worse. So for all those persons who are loving and embracing TikTok, give me your critique of TikTok, Jaron Lanier.
Yeah, look, first of all, I want to say whatever you like about TikTok is authentic, and I'm not saying that that's not real. I actually have a lot of good things to say about TikTok. I love the way it's created a new way for dance to fit into our culture. There's a bunch of TikTok stuff that's great, really, really. But TikTok is the first major social media platform that's foreign-owned, and that in itself is fine. But this particular situation is a difficult one. China has taken serious turn towards an authoritarian future right now, and we're seeing the Chinese Communist Party assert control in a way that oversees business, oversees a lot of things, and they might be on a collision course with the world over a few issues, and it's not. We're so intertwined with them that it's very hard to just sort of say, well, we'll let them be, we'll just ignore whatever happens, because we kind of can't do that. And that's a whole story. But at any rate, the thing is, we might be headed into conflict with them, and they are absolutely used to the idea that social media should be used to control a population. One thing is they totally banned and removed all of our platforms from China, so you can't, there's no Insta or Facebook or whatever there. Meanwhile, by Chinese law, they can intervene in the affairs of companies, and it is a Chinese company. You can dance around it and you can say, well, there's this principle that the data is supposed to be stored here and there's supposed to be the separation, but ultimately at the end of the day, it is a Chinese company, and Chinese law does state that the Communist Party can intervene. And the notion that they wouldn't or won't is ridiculous. I mean, of course they will, and of course they do. And I think the right question is, like, what could they do with it? And so if you are optimistic, you might say, well, they can't do anything anyway. Who cares about a bunch of videos of kids dancing or whatever? But, there are things they can do. I'll give you a couple of examples. In the event of a serious conflict, it is believed that TikTok reports the locations of phones of everybody regularly, so you're being monitored. So it's a little uncomfortable. Let's say you're in the service. Let's say you're a Marine or a kid back home. Do you want, and there's like some conflict over Taiwan or something, do you want the location of your kid broadcast to Chinese authorities? Well, right now it is. Is that okay? Is there some way they can use that? Do you want the interior of your home broadcast to them? So, we know that China has started to operate on U.S. soil in ways that are questionable. Could they operate? I don't know. I hate to make up stuff because it makes me sound like a paranoid nincompoop or something. But the truth is, these are possible things that could happen. But in a way, the thing that what I worry about the most is not the stuff we know about, like preferring pro-Chinese opinions and amplifying them, or trying to screw up our election, Trump or whatever. What I worry about the most is them just making society, amping up our internal tension so that we can't talk to each other and we become just weakened and crazier and less coordinated as a society. That, in a way, I think that is the thing that happens naturally to a small degree. They could amp up, And I think in the event of a conflict, that could be an actual problem, you know?
No, you don't sound crazy at all. I mean, these things are, as Maya Angelou would say, real. These
the nicest thing anybody's ever said.
Get out of here, man. These considerations, as Maya Angelou would say, are as real as rain. And so you don't sound like a crazy man at all. And that's why I wanted to ask you the TikTok question, and I'm glad you unpacked it in the way that you did. Let me move now specifically to this guest essay that you wrote for the New York Times. Again, the headline is Trump, Musk, and Kanye Are Twitter Poisoned. I want to read 3 paragraphs here, and it'd be much cooler if I had asked Jaron to do this, but I'll do it for him since I have it in my hand. 3 paragraphs I want to read, and then we'll let Jaron sound off on it. Quoting from his piece, I have observed a change, or really a narrowing, in the public behavior of people who use Twitter or other social media a lot. Other social media sometimes coming into play after ejection from Twitter. When I compare Mr. Musk, Mr. Trump, and Ye, I see a convergence of personalities that were once distinct. The garish celebrity playboy, the obsessive engineer, and the young artist, as different from one another as they could be. But all have veered not in the direction of becoming grumpy old men, but into being bratty little boys in a schoolyard. Maybe we should look at what social media has done to these men. I believe Twitter poisoning is a real thing. It is a side effect that appears when people are acting under an algorithmic system that is designed to engage them to the max. It's a system of being part of a behavior modification scheme. In early operant conditioning, pioneered by famous behaviorists like B.F. Skinner, animals were given positive and negative feedback in the form of treats and electric shocks. The behavior of each individual animal was monitored so that the stimulus given was constantly optimized to a purpose. A similar scheme targets people through their phones today. Take it away, Jeremy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there are a lot of directions to go with that. But the main thing I want to say is that, we like to think of ourselves as being these perfect minds who are always in control and everything. But the truth is we're all complicated and imperfect. And we're all vulnerable to faltering in different ways. This has been true since ancient times, and it shouldn't be news to anybody. One of the ways is we're vulnerable to the pattern of addiction, and that can be chemical. It often is. And we've seen waves of it. The opioid crisis, crack, I don't know, like how many do we have to talk about? But, that just keeps happening. And But, behavioral addiction is also a real thing. And the most common one before social media was probably gambling. And gambling, I don't know if you've ever known somebody with a gambling problem, but it's a really heartbreaking thing. It can really do incredible damage to the kids of the person. And it's just a really tough one to deal with. Now, the thing is that the mechanism that makes gambling addiction happen is really the same one that makes social media addiction happen. And a lot of the side effects, a lot of the personality changes are similar. But in the case of social media, I think the personality changes are even a little worse because it's in the middle of everything you do. Like gambling affects you in general, but there's at least some times when you're not gambling. But for the social media addict, like just having connections with their life, with their world, is this constant experience of the addiction. So it's just more present, and it has more of a personality-altering effect. So I'd run into Mr. Trump in the old days before all of this, and honestly, I never found him to be a very likable figure, and there are many reasons to dislike him that were just as... The thing is, he had this feeling of somebody who knew who he was, who, the way I put it in the piece, is that he was in on his own joke. Like, yeah, I'm putting out this nonsense, but I know it and you know it. And that changed. Like, he has gotten to the point where he's so cranky that he can't think straight. And some people say it's age and dementia. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but from afar, it certainly looks like a case of social media addiction. With Ye, that's a particularly sad one, because here you had somebody who started off as a particularly smart artist, I thought anyway, back in the day. Mm-hmm. And there's something extra sad when you see somebody with a real intellect and a real, creative force fall prey to this thing. And he's just become so narrow and such a caricature and so unable to say or do much outside of just, this pure transgression thing. One of the things I talk about is the symptoms. And so the theory presented in the article is that when you, in the old days of behavior modification with animals, there used to be a combination of treats and electric shocks to give, train it, and it all guided by this algorithm with constant measurement of what they did. On social media, it's social pain and social pleasure. So the pain is when you're ghosted or bullied or whatever, and then the pleasure is when you're followed or liked or whatever. And the thing is, when you're put through that back and forth between social pain and pleasure enough, it starts to pull you back into the original time when you were learning about social pain and pleasure, which is when you were a kid. And because the only other people who are that focused on what other people think of them are kids who are, or maybe adolescents who are learning to deal with how they're perceived.
Jaron, let me cut in right quick there. I've got to do this right quick. I want to come back to this point of social pain and social pleasure, because now you're into the good stuff. And it's, I think, stuff we need to hear and stuff that we can understand in the way that you're breaking it down. We'll continue when we come forward with Jaron Lanier on KBLA Talk 1580.
Turn me up, yeah. What if somebody from the shadow was ill, got a deal on the hottest rap label around? But he wasn't talking about coke and birds, it was more like spoken word. Said he's really putting it down. And he explained the story about how blacks came from glory and what we need to do in the game. Good cool, bad night, right place, wrong time, in the blink of an eye. His whole life changed. If you could feel how my face felt, you would know how Mace felt. Thank God.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we...
Governor Newsom not supporting making kindergarten mandatory. Maisha Cairo here. It's your K-Black Minute News. The office of Governor Gavin Newsom released a list of bills from the current legislative session that he both signed and those that he vetoed. Among the bills vetoed was Senate Bill 70, which would have made attending 1 year of kindergarten mandatory beginning the 2024 to 2025 school year. Existing California law does not require children to attend school until they are 6 years old, the age that children typically begin first grade. Kindergarten is reported to help level the playing field for children who are less likely to receive high-quality child care or preschool. Parents and community members, what are your thoughts on all this? I'd like to know. Tweet us at KBLA 1580 hashtag KBlackMinute with your thoughts.
Sanctuary of Hope invites you to come out, support Homeless Youth Awareness Month at a candlelight, interfaith prayer, and youth voice reflections, Tuesday, November 29th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. For more info, visit thesoh.org. Did you know a housing crisis puts young people at huge risk of more violence and trauma? And right now, young people and their children need support more than ever. Prevention services such as financial assistance and mental health well-being are main drivers of impact. Contact thesoh.org for more information. Did you know an estimated 4.2 million youth and young adults experience homelessness, of which 700,000 are unaccompanied minors? The pathway to functional zero is prevention. More info at thesoh.org. Again, thesoh.org.
This Sunday and every Sunday is the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Get free groceries, essential resources, and buy black from local merchants of arts, beauty, custom black merchandise, and more. Choose from a wide variety of cuisines, custom-made clothing, jewelry, and a lot more. Experience the true essence of Africatown at Leimert Park every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Join the Drum Circle, dance, enjoy live performances, connect with other conscious black people. Experience black excellence every Sunday in Africatown at Leimert Park. You can find us on Degnan Boulevard near Vernon and Crenshaw in the heart of Africatown at Leimert Park. That's the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Join us for music, shopping, food, and fun this and every Sunday. Support black businesses, recycle black dollars, and feed your soul. The African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market every Sunday in Africatown at Leimert Park. Brought to you by Africatown Enterprise and the African Village Vendors Association.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with Dom Kennedy at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. They're here to promote generational wealth building in black communities. He's an independent rapper and the owner of OPM record label. Dom Kennedy, why do you find it important to be here today at this event with Chase?
For me, we've been having a lot of conversations with them, and been giving me a lot of good facts and a lot of good feedback that I felt like needed to be shared, and if people heard it, they would take to the information and it would help them on their quest to be homeowners and just better off financially across the board. They like my perspective, and being an artist and somebody that people knew that was born and raised in LA, people older and like bank managers could kind of be a little intimidating, I guess, to everyday people, especially that has never purchased a home. So just the angle of me being able to communicate it and make the story real, I guess for the younger people was a great opportunity, and I didn't want to pass on.
That's awesome. So answer me this. Why is it important for companies like Chase to promote generational wealth in black and brown communities?
Keep it real. They make a lot of money off the black and brown communities. I look at it like it's a great responsibility for them to take on, to want to share some knowledge and some facts and try to put more people in homes. That generational wealth. I think it's beneficial to both parties,
I'm Maisha Cairo, and that was Dom Kennedy. Stay tuned for more tips from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour.
Ew. Stuck in a cycle of rewashing your clothes? Because you can't remove tough laundry odor? When detergent by itself can't cut it, use new Downy Rinse and Refresh. With a breakthrough odor-removing formula, it removes odors in one wash, better than the leading value detergent in 3 washes, keeping all your laundry fresh. Now you can break the cycle of rewashing with Downy Rinse and Refresh.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, General Lanier, we're back watching my time here. Finish your point about social pain and social pleasure. You had my interest.
Well, okay. So instead of preaching electric shocks, people are given social pain or social pleasure, pain being ignored or tormented, and pleasure being followed or liked. And then what happens is when you're going through this whiplash between these social feelings constantly, and it is really constant, it's more often than you realize it whenever you're on social media, because that's the addiction method. It brings you back to when you were a kid, figuring out social dynamics for the first time, because adolescents and little kids are like super sensitive to what people think of them, because they're figuring it out. And so by just re-experiencing that, it regresses you, so you become a kid again in a lot of ways. And you become a kid again, not in like this really nice creative way, but in this really kind of stupid way where the worst of childhood comes out, and you can get, I don't know, just all the ways that social media addicts are. It's a kind of a very childish way of being. Like one of the things is there's only one kind of fun, which is breaking a rule. So if somebody says hate speech is bad, or, betraying your own people is bad, well, what's he going to do? He's going to go say, slavery was our own fault, or whatever. Which I realize he didn't say precisely those words, so forgive me for not getting...
No, slavery was a choice. That was nice. Slavery was a choice.
Slavery was a choice. Yeah. No, it wasn't. I mean, what a load of crap. I mean, you don't have to be a historical scholar to realize what it... Anyway, the thing is but the point is that the only kind of fun that you know anymore when you have this addiction is breaking whatever the rule is in front of you. And no matter what, like you don't have the concept of hurting people because you become too self-centered. And so, and to see that happen to people like Ye, and I could name some others, but it's not, I don't think that you can figure it out. I don't want to be the person running around saying this person is this way or that way. I just needed a few examples to make the point to start with.
Yeah.
It's like a great shame, I think. It really is.
But one of the points, the critical points in your piece, though, is that all of us are subject to this because we're targeted through our phones.
Yeah, right. So you have the phone. I think there could be a good version of the phone. I think it's possible to have all the stuff we love about TikTok and Twitter and all the rest of them. The good stuff could exist without the bad stuff. The bad stuff is an add-on. It's a stupid business model based on addicting people. It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
We could still have great dance videos on TikTok without the addiction part.
Since your piece is called Trump, Musk, and Kanye Are Twitter Poison, your piece for the New York Times, your guest essay, let me look at my clock. I got about 4 minutes left. Let me turn these last 4 minutes to talk a little bit about politics, specifically about Trump, whose name, again, leads your headline. So we all know that Donald Trump is making his big announcement tonight. We expect him to launch a new campaign for the presidency. When he first ran, he was able to use Twitter brilliantly. I'm putting brilliantly in air quotes. You take the point. Unless I've missed something as yet, he's not been allowed back on Twitter by Elon Musk. We're told that may happen somewhere down the road. But how do you see Donald Trump doing this next run for the White House without access to Twitter, which he, again, used so effectively the first time around?
Yeah, well, the old Trump was actually a pretty smart guy, I have to say. I think the Trump of 6 years ago or something was actually a sharp person. He's somebody I disagreed with and had a lot of problems with, but I'm not sure the current one is. I think he's gotten so lost in the sort of infantile experience of narcissism that happens when you get this addiction to social media that he isn't really that smart anymore. And so I have a feeling, he's not that much. I think he can lose, but I don't think he would.
But his truth, what's it called, Truth Social? His Truth Social platform isn't going to allow him the same kind of access and opportunity that Twitter did 6 years ago, will it?
Everything you're saying is true, and I can imagine Musk might let him back on. I mean, the thing is that people who have social media addiction feel a natural allegiance and affinity for one another. It's a weird thing. It's like if you're at a party and you want to get drunk, you don't want to be around sober people. You want to be around other people.
In case you missed our second hour, for those who missed our second hour, we started hour 2 with a conversation with Dr. Bandy Lee. She's the woman who, over 5 years ago, warned us about Donald Trump, put a book out called The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, New York Times Bestselling text, that had 27 essays from her and other professionals saying that Donald Trump had a serious narcissistic symbiosis. They turned out to be right about that, but they were roundly criticized. Even though the book was a bestseller, they were criticized for writing that book. So here we are back again talking about with Jaron Lanier, Donald Trump's narcissism. In the 2 minutes I have left, I'm wondering whether or not, and this is always an issue for me, in the back of my mind at least, whether or not Elon Musk is some sort of evil genius. And there's something, never mind this conversation, about what he's doing with Twitter that's going to allow him to turn this thing around and do something that blows all the rest of our minds. You tell me, but this evil genius is always in the back of my head, Jaron.
Well, this is a whole story too, but Musk's dad was a technocrat, which was a political movement that believed that engineers should just take over and run society. And they didn't find any place to go that would have them except for, guess what, apartheid-era South Africa. So that's why Musk ended up growing up there. And so it's this feeling that the techies are superior and should just run everything, and democracy is just getting in the way of techies making better decisions. I'm a good techie, and I don't believe that, but some techies do. And I think that's probably what he believes at this point, and I think if you use that theory, you probably can predict his moves better than if you use a different theory.
Yep. We'll leave it there. It makes sense to me. The piece is called Trump, Musk, and Kanye. Twitter poisoned, a powerful piece posted to the New York Times. A guest essay from our dear friend and brother, Jaron Lanier, who I've been honored once again to be in dialogue with. Jaron, thanks for your time, brother. We'll do it again somewhere down the road. I appreciate you.
I look forward to that very much. Take care, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. That's our show for today. Tomorrow morning, back here to do it all over again, Lord willing, 9 a.m. to 12 noon Pacific time. Time now for the KBLA Midday Money Chain. Up next, the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson, followed by Head of the Crypto Curve with Elijah Roberts. Old money, new money. We got you covered here on KBLA Talk 1580. Hope you enjoyed today's program as much as I did. Again, see you tomorrow morning, Lord willing. Until then, thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network.